In this short video, we are going to cover some popular questions in statistics. How do we calculate standard deviation? What is the formula that we are using? And how can we do that in Excel? Also, how do we calculate those from different calculators? The first one we want to cover is where is the formula coming from? So standard deviation as a way to measure the data variation. In other words, how big the change of a data. If we have a data sequence, for example, we have 6 numbers here, 35, 45, 30, 35, 40, 25. Out of those 6 numbers, how do we calculate this standard deviation? To simplify this, we cover sample standard deviation most of the time. I would say 99% of the time. And the formula, if we want to refer to, is the formula in terms of n minus 1. How can we do that? The first step here, we want to calculate the average. So out of those 6 numbers, we add them together, divided by number of data points, which is 6, we got 35. And the second step here, we want to calculate the distance of each data point to the average. For example, the x1 here, the first data point, 35 minus 35, you got 0. The second data point, 45 minus 35, you got 10. Similarly, for the other numbers here, you got the difference. Now you see, sometimes they are positive, sometimes they are negative. If we simply add them together, you might see, oh, we got a 0. Are we having the variation of 0? Of course not. You can clearly see this data sequence here, they have some changes. So to get rid of this cancellation between plus and minus, in mathematics, we have a trick. One way to deal with that is take the square. So we square of each of the number here, we got 0 squared 0, 10 squared 100, negative 5 squared 25. You see, that's the powerful part. After we got a square, now we add them together. The formula in terms of a sample standard deviation is a special one, divided by n minus 1, right? For the most of people, like we are dealing with the average, we divide it by 6, which is number of data points. But for the sample standard deviation, most of the time we are referring to n minus 1, which give us at the end about the variance 50. So continue the standard deviation here, which is the square root of the variance, which give us 7.1. I hope that gives you the idea where is the formula coming from for the sample standard deviation. Now, I want to show you in calculator calculations here, how can we do that? The one of the most popular calculator, that is the standard relatively simple calculator, Texas 30XA calculator. You see, you only have one line here, right? So here's an example how we can use this calculator to calculate the standard deviation. I will also provide you a link about more details. How would you calculate the standard deviation using this kind of calculator? The example here, we have 5 data points, 6, 4, 5, 7, 10. So how do we calculate the standard deviation using this? First, we want to input this data sequence here. Everyone, so how do we do this? We start on here, right? Then what we are going to do, we put a data sequence, right? First, we press 6, which is the first data points. Then press this summation sign. So in statistics, we call this sigma sign, this plus sign here, right? That will give you input the first number, and then continue to input the second number, which is 4, and then push that sigma sign again. That tells the calculator, oh, we have to put a data sequence. Until you put all 5 numbers and adding this sigma sign at the end. Do not forget. Okay, remember, so far, we haven't typed anything about this second here. Okay, we just input this data sequence. Now, we want to use this data sequence to do the calculation. Now, it's time for us to push the second button here. So after you push the second button, you want to find out, for example, the summation of all the numbers. So that is you push this. After you push the second button, and then you push this summation sign. You see that here? Second, by the way, second means on the top that you are reading. So this is the summation sign here. So what you push that, you got summation of 32, right? For example, you want to calculate the average. So what do? Push the second button, and then there's a average. You see that X bar here? The small X bar here. Push that here. This button, you will get 6.4, which is the average. Now, how do we calculate the standard deviation here? Remember, there are two fancy standard deviation here. So if we want to get the sample standard deviation, what do? The sample standard deviation here coming from second button first, right? And then pay attention here. There's a sigma n minus 1, that one here. Just push that button, you will get a 2.3 something. Now, in some other situation, if we want to calculate population standard deviation, so you are push the second button and then push this sigma xn, which is a dividing sign here. You see, that's the special part. Then you got this population standard deviation, which we are not using that most of the time. I hope that's clear. In case if you are confusing, I will highly recommend you to do this example here step by step. Also, click the link I will provide for this video. Try to read the step by step. Then we are going to cover another example using Texas 30x or 34, which is more fancy calculator to do the calculation, which means you might need to do more attention here. For example, we are calculating this very simple data sequence 1, 2, 3. So how do we calculate the standard deviation? So before we do anything on this calculator, everyone, we want to push the second button, which is different from the Texas 30XA calculator, right? We don't do second button in the beginning. So for this calculator here, you want to push the second button very beginning and click that stats mode. So what that means is you will see you have one variable, two variable. What that mean? One variable means one data sequence. Two variable means you have a two data sequence X, Y. For example, you can do some correlation coefficient between two data sequence, which we will cover that later. Not from this video. So we select one variable here, then we press the data button on the calculator here. Then we have to put this data sequence. So later on, we will have a video to cover this. We have to pay some attention. This is a little bit tricky for the data input. And then after you put all the data here, now it's time for us to calculate those stats var here. You see there's a button here, stats var. So for the stats var here, after you push this button, you will see there are a few numbers showing up on the top. M, X bar. So you go to the right hand side, push M, it will tell you how many data points. X bar, what is the average? And this S, which is the sample standard deviation, you click the arrow bar, go there, that will show you how much the value for the sample standard deviation. Similarly for the sigma. So we will have some video here to cover this, giving you more details. Before we go that, I want to show you in Excel, how do we do this? In Excel, Microsoft Excel, say we have a data sequence here, like 10 numbers. So 1, 2, 3 up to 10. How do we calculate the average, or in stats we mean? So in stats, there's this function here called average. So you see that here, right? You say average type equal, don't forget that in the very beginning. Then average, you select all those numbers, enter, you got 5.5. Now for this standard deviation here, similarly, there's a formula here, std_def. Do not forget equal sign in the beginning. Select this data sequence, you got 3.0. Okay, so similarly, example that we had earlier, right? 6 data points here. How do we calculate average? Just equal average and select those data sequence. You can like select that way. Okay, so that will give you this number here. Standard deviation, similarly, STD dev. So you will find out 7.1, which is the one we covered earlier. So in other words, the sample standard deviation is the one that we are using most of the time. You don't really have to worry about the population one. Now, after this, I want to show you some video. How do we calculate in using the Texas dirty X? So here's an example. It's a relatively complex example here, right? You have quite a few numbers. First, you have to enter the stats mode. You have to push the second button, and then the stats mode choose the one variable because one data sequence. Now you have to enter the data. You push that data button here, then you type those numbers here, x1 equal to 5, the frequency equal to 1, and so on, x2 equal to 7, right? There's a special part here you want to pay attention, x equal to 12, frequency of 5. That's the special part. x6, you don't have to worry about this. Now, you just need to press this stats var button. So, based on this stats var button, you can see how many data points, right? What's the average? What's the sample standard deviation? What is the population standard deviation, which is the formula given here. So I hope that video give you a clear idea how do you calculate this standard deviation. Also, I want to offer some tips when we are calculating those stats problems. Everyone, you want to read the question multiple times. In my experience, if you don't pay attention to those details, most likely you will get trouble. And the second one sentence, one equation. So you want to write down what you are getting from this equation line by line. Slow is fast. Number 3, always double check your answer. That's very important. I always see the students actually know how to solve the problem, but somehow cannot just write the answer, right? So why? Because of various mistakes. In particular, like some algebra questions, algebra mistakes. So in other words, you want to slow down doing the calculation very carefully. I hope you have fun for this video and understand the stats better. Thank you.